So welcome back to Brent's Anime News Corner for the week ending May 8th, 2011. Let's go to the anime and manga news. Starting off with a giant poster of Vagabond, the Inoue manga, Takehiko Inoue manga. There's been this giant poster that he did that has been set up in Tokyo. It is over 59 feet tall, about 18 meters tall, and about 33 feet wide, or 10 meters wide. The actual character is now about as tall as that giant Gundam statue that they put up. So that's pretty cool. That's out there advertising the classic Vagabond manga, which is pretty darn cool. Also in manga news, the 15th Osamu Tezuka Cultural Prize winners were announced. These are basically awarded for significant contributions to the manga field. The grand prize was awarded to Jin by Motoko Murakami, and Takamitsu Samurai, written by Issei Eifuku and drawn by Taiyo Matsumoto for Shogakukan. Looks very classical. The new artist prize, oddly, was given to Hiromu Arakawa. Apparently they're working their way back through recent folks, but Arakawa specifically got that the new artist prize. And the short work prize was given to Keisuke Yamashina for his works CQ Salaryman Koza, Papa wa Nanda ka Wakaranai, and other Salaryman manga. So cool seeing the Osamu Tezuka prize continuing on. Also, speaking of awards and manga as well, two of Viz's manga have been nominated for the Great Teen Graphic Novels category, put together by the American Library Association's Young Adult Library Services Organizations, or YALSA, which is a mouthful. Anyway, their nominees for the 2012 Great Graphic Novels for Teens list now include Genkaku Picasso, Volume 1, and Kurozakuro, Graphic Novel 1. The first one is about a character who is sort of haunted by the ghost of a friend, and the second about a bullying victim who wakes up with super strength. So some more Viz manga out there and available for teens, and considered good things by American librarians, at least, for whatever whatever that's worth. Let's see here. The One Piece manga has kind of plateaued a little bit. They published the same number of volumes for Volume 62 as they did for Volume 61. Only 3.8 million copies for the first version. Yeah. But they've been growing sort of volume by volume. But apparently they figured that this volume will get about the same as the previous one. So it is as popular as it was with the previous volume, but that still is massively popular. 3.8 million. Wow. Also, speaking of manga, Yen Press's app now includes both Yotubato and K-On! So if you want to pick those up, they're available on a volume-by-volume basis, not issue-by-issue, in the Yen Press app for iOS devices. So good knowing there's more really high-quality manga making it onto those devices. And speaking of popularity, Madoka Magica, which we mentioned last week, sold a huge amount in its first day, continued with its selling frenzy. The first Blu-ray disc sold 53,000 units, roughly, to become the #1 television anime release in first week Blu-ray sales. So in terms of number of sold in this first week, Madoka Magica is the top anime seller in Blu-ray. So that's pretty darn impressive. That's despite that recall notice on the second official day of sales. Pretty darn impressive. It sold 22,000 units on its first day, then about 9,000 in the rest of the week. Yeah, One Piece is popular. What else? Let's see here. Moving back to some manga news real quick. This was greeted with some surprise. I don't know why. Amazon has pulled a few yaoi manga from the U.S. Kindle store. For whatever reason, the Kindle store has had a lot of yaoi on it, manga-wise, and they pulled a few of them. And the announcement's kind of funny because the announcement on Anime News Network, at least, the news item says that, but there's other yaoi on there, which is like, yeah, that's kind of what happens. Is that some stuff gets pulled, as a result of complaints or whatever, but that doesn't mean that they come up with a blanket reason, gone through every single manga listed there, and then decided, okay, these go. A few things have been noticed and been pulled down. That's usually what happens. These seem to be, I'm not quite sure, but they seem to be some of the more explicit items on there. So, again, not too surprising to me that some of those have been pulled from the Kindle store. They are from two different publishers, I believe, Digital Manga. I'm sorry, no. Just one publisher, Digital Manga, had this happen to them. They originally said that they were going to alter their content just for the Kindle devices. If you're on the Kindle, they will, censor or whatever. And then they said they're not going to. So I don't quite know what's going on there. But who knows? But good news for manga over in Japan, certainly. The magazine Miracle Jump, which is a reboot of Monthly Young Jump, which is a pretty long-standing magazine, has announced that Shueisha will be publishing a new manga this summer. And what's interesting about that, because this happens a lot, new magazines coming out, they have said this will be a, quote, pure manga magazine, end quote, meaning it's not going to be focused for one particular genre or age range. So it won't be shonen or seinen or shoujo or anything. They're just going to publish whatever manga they think is worth publishing. So that's quite remarkable. I'm curious to see what's going to come out of that. We've seen quite an interesting sort of push recently to see anime and manga that is released not just for a very defined genre. So we'll see. Tamina Block has tried to do things that are more aimed at women and things like that. So nice to see some push for that, and hopefully a breath of fresh air in the in the manga world. Meanwhile, in heartwarming news, let's see here. There's a museum devoted to Shotaro Ishinomori's works. He created Kamen Rider, basically Cyborg 009, and Skullman, as well as many, many others. He created 770 individual stories in his lifetime. Wow. And unfortunately, the museum has been without power ever since the March 11th disaster. But they held a special Children's Day event. There's a day in Japan called Children's Day. And they announced they're going to hold something anyway. So they had a stage show featuring one of Ishinomori's characters, gave away popcorn, candy, and cooked food, as well as donated toys. They cleared a nearby field of debris for an impromptu soccer game as well, which is pretty darn cool. So very nice to see them pushing forward and doing something for the kids despite the difficulty with all that stuff. So that's pretty darn pretty darn sweet. In sort of odder news, let's see here. The anime C, the one about sort of financial markets, they've announced they're holding an audition for an amateur voice actor to come in and record a word of dialogue. Looking for one guy, one girl, who will each record one line of dialogue with the cast. So they get to go in, they get to actually record with the recording session, and they're going to record this one line, this one word of dialogue. Excuse me, but they do get their names in the end credits as being in it. So fun little contest there. Basically, for auditions, candidates have to do a free registration on a website and then use the site to dub over some dialogue and send that in as an example of their abilities. So pretty neat idea and a way of getting people interested in in the anime. Meanwhile, Viz mentioned the fact that they will be 25 years old on July 7th. Been around for 25 years. Can you imagine that? And they're going to have some special announcements and stuff going on July 7th to commemorate their release. So good on you, Viz, for keeping on with all your publishing stuff that you get out there, which is quite nice. And meanwhile, coming back over here, this is actually something that we've been waiting for a while. Funimation has picked up the Trigun movie, which was made a little while ago. It is a return to the Trigun universe, and they've announced they did get Johnny Young Bosch to play Vash the Stampede, which is a wonderful bit of news. On the other hand, unfortunately, they could not get the rest of the cast, so it will be Vash, and everyone else will be new for the dubs. So unfortunately, we won't get to hear Meryl or Merle or even Wolfwood in their original voices, but I'm sure the new voice actors will do quite well. So coming up should be fun to watch. It'll be interesting to see how they sound like, with new voice actors. Hey, why not? So moving on to some of the slightly odder news of the week. Square Enix has posted a free game comic crossover thing for iOS apps. Basically, you get to download this, and it has a comic and little mini games that you access as you go through the comic. It's called Imaginary Range. It's actually featured on the iTunes App Store. I noticed that when I was on the iTunes Store. It's a full-color electronic comic, and then as you move through, you get these little mini games to play. It's available worldwide in Japanese, English, and French, and you get to go through and play. The art is by the guy who did Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles and all that kind of stuff. Directed by the guy who directed Final Fantasy 13. So pretty darn cool. And we'll, you can go there and look for Imaginary Range in the iTunes App Store. Meanwhile, Danny Chu's Culture Japan show, his show about Japan, and otaku to him over there in Japan, is now available on Crunchyroll, which is quite nice. So you can go over to Crunchyroll and check out his stuff. Danny Chu's kind of one of the uber geeks over there. He has a very well-known website, and he actually goes around as a stormtrooper in Japan, if you've seen that guy, which is pretty darn cool. So he's out there on Crunchyroll. You can check out his antics there. Let's see here, a couple remaining things. First off, there was a news item in the Hollywood Reporter saying that that live-action version of Akira. Well, someone has suggested to the Hollywood Reporter that Keanu Reeves is now in talks to play Kaneda in Akira. Now, to be fair to this bit of news, the Variety, who's sort of a rival Hollywood Reporter, said, "Don't believe everything you read." Basically, that sounds like a troll. Personally, who knows? Certainly, the whole Keanu Reeves Bebop thing was enough of a thing to cause heart attacks. That sounds like someone was, having fun with the media. But it did get reported in Hollywood Reporter, so who knows? I'm just here to report. Finally, I give you something that will probably, surprise a few and not surprise others, but I don't know. We'll see. But this does appear to be a real thing. I'm not entirely sure, but it just appears to be. Yeah.